Good evening and welcome to another episode of Youth Perspective with yours sincerely, Joy Okmani. Today's topic is the pressure to conform, balancing societal expectations and individual aspirations among Nigerian youth. This topic dives into the complex dynamic faced by young Nigerians as they navigate their personal ambitions in a society deep in cultural norms and expectations. Right now, we're going to our street, make we hear from you, and you. So no go anywhere because this is Youth Perspective.
I would like to follow my way down the one my parents asked me to do because it's not me that will suffer for it later. It's me that will suffer for it. So I like to follow my way.
What you want to do?
Yes, in life. Like I want to maybe in nursing. I would like to follow good for nursing. If my parents say this blah blah blah, no, I will not follow their way. I like to follow me because at the end, the only that will suffer for it is me that will suffer for it. So I like to follow my.
Kind of pressure I'm experiencing as a young adult right now is basically or mainly peer pressure. It happens all the time. I'm always pressured by what my friend can or they can do, something like that. So to me it's bad because sometimes make me feel depressed, make me feel I'm not enough, I'm not doing well enough. So that's the main kind of pressure I'm going through as a young adult.
Okay, hi guys. Now that we've heard from you, our beautiful and amazing audience, yes, it is time to hear from our guests here in the studio. And trust me, they are beautiful and handsome. They're actually entering my eyes, small, but let me not go too far. Yes, we have me, of course, confident.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Of course, nice to see you actually.
Very nice to see you too.
Stop, I'm blushing. Okay, so we have Frederick. Hi, Frederick.
Hi, thank you for having me.
You good?
Well, yes, I'm good.
You sure?
I am sure.
Okay. All right. So, what do you actually do? Let me just start with it. What do you actually do?
I'm a broadcaster. I'm into corporate communications.
Okay.
And I'm a humanitarian.
Ooh, that's nice.
Yeah.
And you, Frederick?
Well,
Let's
I'm
hear
a
what you
fashion
do.
designer. You can say a tailor. I make male clothes, just like the one I'm wearing.
Ooh, that's
So
nice.
basically, that's the main thing I do.
All right.
Yes.
Okay. So you guys are ready for today, right?
Very ready.
Okay. So let's dive into our very first question that we have here. What are the most common societal expectations placed on young adults in Nigeria today? The common issues placed on young adults. You know, there's so many expectations right now for young adults. Okay, as a girl and as a guy, you know, the expectations are very much different. So I would like you guys to speak from your own point of views of what it is. So at least whoever is watching right now can actually relate to what we're doing here today. Yes. So some societal expectations placed on young adults today in Nigeria.
Okay. Societal expectations. It
Yes.
depends on where you're listening from. Right, so somebody is going to influence you one way or the other.
Definitely.
So it depends on who you are available to influence you. It could be a positive influence, it could be a negative influence, and sometimes we think that positive influence only come from home. Negative influence can come from home.
True.
So it depends on who you're listening to. But I think the first agent of socialization, whenever you're born, whoever is born, the first person you get to meet is your family. So most of the time, the influence comes from the family first.
Correct.
In the family, it's for you to be the best. Actually, it's for you to be the best you can possibly be, and be the best your parents can imagine. Because there was a time I used to really think that the fact that your parents want you to do something shows that you need to fight it. Or it shows that you have a problem with them. You know, maybe they want to study a particular course, you don't want to study that course. But really, our parents just want us to be the best, really. Because if you put yourself in your parents' shoes, you could see that most of the things that you might be offended about, maybe they were actually just looking out for you, right? Yeah. Now, I asked myself, when I have a child, what would I want my child to study? Probably medicine, or to be sincere.
You have expectations already.
So I'm already having expectations for a child I have not met yet. So that's the same way our parents also wanted us to do the best. So I think the first pressure is what you're going to be. What you study in school. I want to be a doctor. I want to be an engineer. Sometimes parents might see themselves in you. So if you have a parent that is a doctor, he might want you to be a doctor as well. She might want you to be a nurse as well, because they want you to just follow a certain line, because they have a vision of what they want their child to be like. So the first pressure comes from parenting, and then when you step out and you go to school and you meet your friends, there's also pressure from your friends as well, because when you actually go to the public setting, we bring different people from different societies, different experiences. In my house, probably we kneel down to greet. In your house, probably you lie down to greet. So when I meet you, there's a tendency for me to want to impose what I want on you. So friendships also bring like this very huge expectation from you, because sometimes we let people define what is acceptable and what is not acceptable for us without a personal conviction that this is what is right and this is what is wrong. So I think mostly it comes from your family. As you get older, it's going to change. They're going to want you to go to school at a certain time, get a job, get married, probably have a business, and this begins to have challenges whereby life doesn't happen in a straight pattern. So it maybe you actually went to school, you're able to get a job on time. It doesn't mean you're not a serious person. It just means that probably it's not yet time for you to get certain things, right? Society might not feel that way. So that's where societal pressure actually comes in, because nobody wears your shoes for you. But most times they want to tell you how to lace it.
Deep. I need to jot some things down, because it's giving. Let's not talk too much. So back to you.
Yeah, well, when I look at societal pressures and the expectation, the first thing that comes to mind, especially from experience, is financial expectations. That's the first thing. Then the second one I would also talk on is this occupational expectations. So that one is beginning to tilt from our traditional medicine, law. Now we are now hearing everybody should study technology. It's now moving into tech. The whole idea of going into medicine, being a doctor and a lawyer, is gradually fading actually. But now you want to hear people tell you, I can code and be software designer. That's now what you want to hear, mainly from the young ones. Now, starting from the financial expectation, I think that explains itself, because most of the things we do, especially in this country, it revolves around finance. You want your children to study medicine because you believe that is the highest paying occupation. Or you want your children to study law because you believe a lawyer is well paid. And because you also believe that a lawyer would be highly placed in the society compared to someone who just goes to study, let me even say my own profession now, a fashion designer. A lawyer ought to be highly placed, or a medical doctor would be highly placed than a fashion designer. Now that creates a form of expectation coming from the parents down to the children, just as she said. Now you want your children to actually be the best. Nobody wants their kid to be second. That is never enough, let alone last. But you want your kids to be at the top.
Do well.
So that expectation, financial expectation, you want your kids to more or less be able to hold their own financially, because we're in a coin whereby money talks. Wherever you are, we want to know how much do you have in your bank account. Now that puts a lot of pressure on us, the young ones, and now want to say, I need to have that money. I want to have that money, so that when my mates, so to speak now, are talking, I want to be able to talk also. And still chip in one or two things. You get me? They not do pass me. I also want to do my own. Now, financial pressure, the society is coined in a way that money talks. And it's also coined in a way that what you do would make you stand out. So now you are pressured to do those things you feel society accepts. Not, you might not even consider, what is it I want to do? Most parents don't even ask their kids, what do you really want to do?
They just impose it on them. They
just tell you, my son, you need to be a doctor or a lawyer. Or probably maybe they see that the child talks and be like, you make a good lawyer. What if that's not it? What if the child actually wants to be a comedian? Just what if?
You want house. You want Nigerian household. You want the person to sleep outside.
Now the problem will come whereby you cannot be a comedian in my house. See that you are studying law or you leave my house. Trust me from experience.
Oh, I would like to hear that, Sha. Maybe not today.
Maybe some other time. Okay. But I will only talk on those two. The financial expectation comes from the society, based on our own society, and the occupation you actually decide to go on, or your field of study. the society in a way kind of influences it.
So are you saying concerning that finances area right now, because in society expects, okay, as a man, are you saying that because as a man or because generally as a society?
Right now, generally.
Generally.
Yes. Back then, it used to be as a man, but we've actually migrated from that age into an age whereby even as a woman,
I disagree
you are
actually.
expected.
I feel
Yeah.
that we still have the expectation that women probably will not make that much money. And I don't want to digress, but I kind of believe it's not possible for a woman to have it all. Because we try to tell ourselves that women are going to go out into the world and conquer, but this same woman has to breastfeed. This same woman has to teach her children homework. So what happens when both sides, father is doing the same thing, going out to conquer, the mother is going out to conquer the world as well? Who conquers the household? So that's, I feel like many times I feel do what works for you. I can't really tell you as a woman you should, you know, do what works for you and your family. But speaking about financial expectation, I think one thing that has made it very bad is social media. Social media has made it very, very bad. And I think it's across all age ranges, except maybe the older ones, the ones who don't use social media. But I feel like when you're on your phone and you're seeing what somebody is posting, I went to this place, you wake up this morning and you see that somebody is now living in UK. Everybody's going to UK, yes. For example, somebody's living in UK, this other person bought a house, the other person bought a car, this other one is getting married. And then you're now asking yourself, like,
what am I doing in my life?
You look at yourself in that moment and you're
am I a potato?
Yes. You start to look at yourself and like, okay, what am I doing? And in that moment, most times we don't remember to say, I'm actually still doing stuff too. Most times it's just very easy for you to say that, you know what, everybody's progressing and I'm left behind. And then that pressure comes. I see somebody carrying the newest hair. It's not that bone straight, it's something.
Which one is that? There's another one now.
I don't know, but I know there's something. They say it's double drawn.
Okay.
I don't really know.
SDD. Oh, you know it too.
You start to hear those things and then you start to feel like you're the one who is missing. And then it now leads to bad influence because you start to hang out with people you're not supposed to hang out with. You start to, you know, leave some things or you lose your focus because somebody is pressuring you to do what you're not supposed to do.
So even in a way, even ourselves as age mates, as peers, as a pair rather, actually, we can even impose pressure on ourselves. Even without the other generation or the society even doing it for us. We just do it to ourselves in terms of like the similar gender like this now. Hey, if you don't have hair, that kind of thing, like, oh, bone straight, my mate is very... Sometime last week, I saw a girl who I'm actually older than, like, physically, you can see I'm older than her. And she was wearing this, like, 30 inches bone straight and all. But that doesn't mean, okay, because, oh, look at this small girl is wearing this. What am I doing in my life? I start feeling, but I don't know where she got it from.
True.
Do you understand? So even at that same page, even ourselves, we give our own self pressure. We put ourselves on in the seat of, okay, I need to do something. You don't know how the person got it. You don't know what the person is doing right now to get it. Even down to the male gender too. Like, oh, my mate is driving GLK. My mate is driving, my mate is driving that. Okay, what about me? What about you? You just need to get up and do something, right? So even society has its own norms, of course, that actually has placed on us as young Nigerians who are actually still trying to meet up, trying to grow. Everything still plays on how we take it. Like, if we really stick down to our background, where we come from. If you know where you're coming from, every household is not the same, of course. But then if you know where you're coming from, you know, okay, this cannot intimidate me. This cannot really make me feel inferior to others, or this cannot make me feel bad because of what I'm saying. Are we good?
You know, I think it's also very important in that moment to just be able to count your own blessings, because nobody's actually going to, except some people who just want to get pity, nobody's going to go on social media to say that they're having a hard life. People always want to go on social media to tell you that life is going great for them. And even when it is fake, even when it is not true. So you could probably be in your bed comparing yourself to somebody who would be grateful to be you.
Okay, so how do we not balance this? The societal norms as a young adult, how do we balance it? Because most expectations actually has really paved way for some people, but at the same time it's like, okay, because of society I can't do what I want to do. I can't do, okay, let me say I want to be a tailor, for example, and I want to make clothes and all that, but I'm being pushed into painting, into art and all that. or I'm being pushed into theater art or whatsoever. But this is what I want to do. Society expects this from me. For example, the family expects this from me, and this is what I want to do. The social norms and my own personal norms like this, they're clashing, right? Since they are clashing, how do I balance it? How do I balance it?
Well, if it has to do with parents, I cannot really read their mind and tell you what the older generation will be thinking, and that's why we're always talking to parents. You know, listen.
Yeah.
Most times, parents know what they are saying.
True.
99.9% they know what they are saying, because there's something they have seen before. And probably sometimes when you're saying you want to be a comedian, for example, when he said it just now, I asked myself, would I want my child to be a comedian? It's not because I think that the child will not make it, but I'm scared. I know that you're going to have challenges. So sometimes when I'm suggesting to you, I'm probably suggesting something that might be easier for you, right? Just be a doctor, get into a hospital, then you work, right? Doctors will always be in demand. But then you now tell me you want to be something like a comedian. And then I'm asking myself, I'm calculating.
Did I do well? Did I do well in training this child?
Do you get not just that, like, how are you going to graduate and get a solid job in comedy? Is it very profitable? And for a lot of young persons, it's just the passion in the moment. I want to do this. That's what's just coming from you. But your parents are more experienced, and they're telling you that this part you're going through, probably I have a friend who went through this line before and he did not favor this person. So I'm trying to help you. But that passion. So I think in that moment, listen. Listen. We young people want to always say what's on our mind.
Like we know it all.
Like we know it all. Listen to what they are saying.
But what if you do know it all?
Well, that's on that angle. You've heard what they have to say. They tell you, I think you should study medicine, or I think you should study law. Ask them, why do you think I should study law? And they tell you lawyers are respected. Lawyers are this. Listen to them. Parents like to be listened to. Listen to them. And then negotiate. Don't push it. Don't push it.
Slowly just drop your bombs here and
You
there.
have to understand who you're dealing with before you can know how to communicate. You don't push it. Let them know. Be patient about it. And then you'll be able to probably communicate. Then also go and do your research. So for instance, you want to be a comedian, right? And your parents is telling you this is out of it.
You have to give them bullet
Don't
points.
talk. Go and do your research. That is something you should already do before you pick a particular field. Because somebody is telling you he's a comedian, is making this amount of money. It doesn't mean that it is all comedians are going to make that money. So you know what? Go and do your research. Go and ask, look for mentors, look for people to tell you that, okay, this is a line you can actually follow. Then this time when you're communicating to your parents, you're making more sense. You sound like somebody that is ready for life, not somebody who just woke up in the morning and just picked up something. So I think that's that's one way to handle it.
Okay. All right, Frederick, what about you?
I want to pick up from something she said that's still relating to parents of a thing. Not everybody has such parents that would actually understand you, even with your number
bullet
of
points and everything else.
Not everybody has such parents to actually listen to you. Some parents just feel they are high and mighty in that home. So even when you take the initiative as to make your research and bring in your point, trying to negotiate, lie to lie, I would say I talk, and I go happen. Now, in such cases, what do you do? For me personally, in as much as nothing should resort to, them being disputes in the home. Like she said, listen, that's something that has worked for me. In as much as it hasn't gone well, but the fact that they see you listening solves a lot of violence.
A lot of things.
Honestly, the fact that they see you listening, it solves a lot of things. Now, for me, where I bring in the balance is know yourself.
Know yourself.
Just know yourself. Try to understand yourself. Now, there is no profession that is easy.
Of course.
Honestly, there is no profession that is easy. They all have their challenges. I've heard of doctors who switch profession. Why? If it was all rosy, why?
Why did you switch?
We all have our different personalities, so what would be easy for you might be difficult for me. What would be difficult for me might just seem like a piece of cake for you. So I have to know myself. If I don't know myself, then I'll just be wasting my time. Personally, I've had this experience as to wasting a lot of time trying to meet up with the expectations, trying to do what people want me to do. And literally like 3 years literally just gone by before I could sit myself down and be like, what do you really want for yourself?
For your own self.
What do you really want for yourself? Now let's, remove the words, the things you've heard. Remove them and think, what do you want for yourself?
Okay.
And I think the first question I ask myself is, what would you do if money was not involved?
Okay, that's a nice question.
What would you do if money was not involved? Because most of our decisions are just encouraged by money. What will I do to get money? Money this, money that. Money is good actually, but money is still not everything. It's important, but still not everything. Okay. So what would I do if money is not involved? And I got my answer rather. And it had helped me actually to know what I would love to venture into and the different things I can do. So for me, the balance would be to know yourself. If you can find out who you are, then the pressure will not really sink in. The pressure is a must. Actually, you must deal with it.
Okay, thank you. Actually, those were really nice words, and a question like any actually young adult should ask himself that, what can I do that is not really money based, because money really isn't everything. Yes, it is important, but it is not everything. Yes. So it's been lovely here with you, Confidence, and Cedric here. I really enjoyed this. Probably next week we'll have a part 2 of this, because we did not really do justice to every question I have here. We just did only one and really talked a lot about it. So I really do appreciate you for coming.
Thank you.
So see you next time, hopefully, yes?
Yes.
All right, so you guys stay tuned, because we have another package for you on Inside Scoop. Bye.
Motivation is the experience of wanting something or wanting to avoid it. When we study how we get motivated to learn, develop, and succeed, we can identify 2 contrary forces, extrinsic and intrinsic ones. On the one hand, we want to belong, desire to be loved, and seek to get the attention we think we deserve. We are motivated extrinsically by rewards in order to progress socially. On the other hand, we strive to explore things that are satisfying in themselves, disregarding rewards. We are motivated intrinsically by a natural curiosity which we follow because it feels right. The opinions of others don't matter. To understand why we probably need a good mix of both, let's imagine 2 4-year-old children. Both grow up in families that want only the best for their kids, but have completely opposing views on how to motivate them to succeed. Tom's parents believe that all their boy needs is love. To not undermine his intrinsic interests, they never praise him or use rewards. Eventually, they decide not to give him any feedback at all, fearing it could corrupt his free mind. Over the years, Tom develops an immense capacity to imagine, spending most of his time playing by himself. By being allowed to follow his passions, he learns what he likes and what he doesn't. But Tom doesn't learn what others expect and gets easily irritated when asked to do something in a particular way. Mira's parents believe that their precious little girl needs clear rules about what's good and what's not. They see it as their duty to help Mira learn by providing precise and actionable feedback on all aspects of her young life. Mira spends her days in preschool, music, and ballet lessons. Over the years, she gets exceptionally good at the things that please the adults around her. However, since there is neither time to play nor to relax, she doesn't discover her own interests. Being alone bores her. At 14, Tom is independent and begins writing science fiction. He realizes that he isn't quite like his friends and spends most of his time at the library. When he shares his writing, others can't quite relate. At the same age, Mira is at the top of her class and has plenty of friends and admirers. She knows what is expected of her and makes sure to meet those expectations. Sometimes the pressure becomes unbearable, although that's her secret. By the day he turns 21, Tom has a unique perspective of the world. He is intelligent, but doesn't like to work for money and hence is always broke. He hates the idea of conforming to conventional norms and is annoyed if someone interferes with his creative expression. At this point, Tom knows a lot about himself, but doesn't connect well with others. To him, people seem to follow rules without questioning them, just like sheep. Integrating into the society is difficult at this point, and he begins to search for utopia. Mira makes it into a top medical school where she realizes she'll never be top of the class again. Once that place seems out of reach, her motivation drops and she wonders if medicine actually interests her. Since quitting is no option, she takes up a second major and runs for student council president. Soon, Mira will know everything about what others expect, but nothing about what she likes for herself. All her life, she has just listened, driven by external feedback loops. At this point, she's almost lost the ability to question the norms of the society she grew up in. Listening to our heart can tell us who we are, but not how to be happy among others. Listening to others can motivate us to be a part of their world, but doesn't teach us if that world is ours. This is why it's probably good for the two to go together. Then we can learn what we want and get the feedback we need in order to stay motivated to explore new roads into a better society.
And that is all on today's episode of Youth Perspective. We explore the common expectations put on young adults today and how we can balance them. We also heard from you, our amazing audience, and got inspired by our guests. Next week, there's a part 2 of this topic, so you have to join us again, same time, same station. Remember, your perspective is valuable and your voice matters. I remain yours sincerely, Joy Okmani, and this is Youth Perspective.